Hello and welcome to the Dot Connector on iconic.com. Well, just before I sat down to record this, I saw this statement from Israel. Iran's attacks are a war crime. Israel's defense minister has called Iran's attacks a war crime and vowed to hold Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, accountable for his crimes. Israel Katz also said that he had instructed Israel's military to intensify attacks in order to undermine the Ayatollah's regime. The cowardly Iranian dictator sits in the depths of the fortified bunker and fires aimed shots at hospitals. There's been a hospital hit this morning as I speak, which is obviously a terrible thing. But here's Katz of Israel saying these are war crimes of the most serious kind. Okay, and Khamenei will be held accountable for his crimes. This is the guy with the Netanyahu regime who has been bombarding Gaza with bombs day after day and killed tens of thousands of civilians and kids. And it seems to me there is a necessity for these people and so-called leaders around the world to have cognitive dissonance. It seems to be something you must have, where you can not at any point see your own hypocrisy and how you're condemning what you're actually doing and worse. And so here we are in this situation now where Israel has been targeting Iran. Iran has been responding in kind. And Trump is apparently, if you believe the media, on the brink of possibly getting the United States openly and directly involved. And this will be more by the time you see this, but apparently the strikes on Iran have wounded 1,329 people and killed at least 639, and dozens have died in Israel. And the madness of the human race, or those directing it, goes on deeper and deeper into insanity. Now, what's happened in America is the MAGA base of Trump has become divided over this. You've got the zealots, oh yes, bomb Iran, and you've got the others who are saying, actually, we didn't vote for this. And so maybe, just maybe, that might encourage Trump to think a bit, because he's got to get through the next, 3.5 years or so, given the fact that he will lose enormous numbers of his base if he goes ahead with this. And the other thing, if he does join the war openly, because he's involved now in the background, is how will China and Russia respond to that? Because if they start coming in openly on the side of Iran, then, we'll see where that will lead. Let's hope that that doesn't happen, but we must be vigilant on the fact that it might. So the thing about grasping what's going on is to understand that these world leaders are not answerable or answering to their electorate, to their populations. They answer to what I call the global cult. Now, some will knowingly be doing that, and others will simply be reacting to events and situations that the cult has made happen. Either way, the cult is controlling what they do and how they respond. So Netanyahu is not answering to the Israeli people. He's not doing this for the benefit of Israelis. He's doing it on behalf of this global cult that operates through all these different countries. Borders are for public consumption only. And it has an agenda to push the world towards global dystopia. And his masters are in the shadows directing this. Now, over the Atlantic in America, Trump is the same. Trump is answering to masters, the same masters that Netanyahu is being controlled by. And it will be the same in all these different areas of the world, especially those that are at the forefront of dictating the direction of the world. And if we don't understand that they're not answering to the population, but to this cult, then we'll lose the plot about what's actually going on. When you've got people like the MAGA saying, why is Trump going against his base? Because he's not answerable to them. They were just the vehicle to get him elected. He answers to the shadow people. It's theater. And because he no longer has to win another election, there's even more reluctance or contempt, if you like, for his base, because in terms of elections, he don't need them anymore. And the plan has obviously been, and by the way, talking about this cult, you have people like the leader of Turkey, Erdogan, condemning Israel and telling his base supporters what they want to hear. That's what they do. Trump told the MAGA what they wanted to hear, and they got him in. And yet, Turkey is supporting in various ways what Israel is doing, not least through opening their airspace, but more than that. because they answer to the cult. Erdogan answers to the cult, not the Turkish people, just as Netanyahu and Trump does. And clearly, the plan has been to target Iran. And Netanyahu has been desperately trying to bring that about for decades, which is why what he's saying now about Iran having a nuclear weapon shortly and oh my God, is what he's been saying word for word, basically, for decades. Here's the receipts.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
Why? How can anyone continue to take this guy seriously when he's been lying decade after decade after decade, trying to bring about what is happening now? How is he taken seriously within the system? Because the cult has got his back and he's serving the cult agenda. And, you know, if you want to transform society, you have to destroy the status quo of the society that is already there. Now, this cult has built this system that we live in, but it wants to move it to an even more extreme level, the Great Reset, with AI basically running everything. So the status quo, the system as it is, has to go. And what we're seeing with Netanyahu and with Trump is the dismantling of the current order to demolish it so it can be replaced by the Great Reset system of AI dystopia. And so what's happening in Iran is part of this dismantling, this upheaval. What Trump is doing with the tariffs, creating economic mayhem, is all part of it. The way he's setting precedents to use the military for domestic law enforcement, all part of this transformation towards this dystopia by dismantling the status quo that exists now. So they're working hard to sell the nightmare. And here's more lies from the psychopath Netanyahu, one after the other.
These people who chant death to America, Tried to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
Yeah.
So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat, and I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He said, made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner.
When did
they understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them. American pilots are shooting down drones that are headed towards Israel, as do our pilots. American THAAD missile batteries are helping defend Tel Aviv and greater Tel Aviv area. American Aegis ships are in the Mediterranean. That's all a decision by President Trump, which I deeply appreciate. Again, his decisions on what to do at any given time is the president's decision. I trust his judgment completely.
Netanyahu is Trump's junior partner. I bloody love it. They both lie for a living. It's what they do. And Trump will tell you whatever you want to hear so that you will respond in the way he wants. And once you've responded that way, and in this case, got him back in, well, he couldn't care less anymore about what you think. Because the deal, the job, is done. And here's a cracker. This is only last October when this American imam went onto a podium at a Trump rally and said, Muslims support Trump because he's going to bring peace, not war. I kid you not.
Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason. I believe personally that God has saved his life for a reason, which is to save the lives of others.
What is staggering to me is how easily people, the MAGA media, fell for Trump when a modicum of research into his background, into his character, would have told you what he really is. And the MAGA media, hacks and sycophants, all cheering him and urging people to vote for him, to put him in office, to become what he is to this cult, like Netanyahu, a wrecking ball to bring down the status quo so another can take its place. And so we've had the MAGA media, people like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Russell Brand, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, on and on it goes, who didn't seem to realize that Trump was laughing at them. When they was, oh, yeah, vote for Trump, he's the savior. He's laughing at you. You're just a vehicle to get him over the line so he can do what he's been designated to do by this cult. And what they're finding now, well, I say what they're finding now, what you've got in this MAGA media, the influencers, are some who are going, hold on, what's happening? And others who are just doubling down. And those doubling down in support of Trump, they're fine. No problem. But if you are pushing back in any way on what he's doing, very, very different situation. And so this was Tucker Carlson, for example, this week. Now, Tucker Carlson played a major role in getting Trump elected. All those big rallies, thousands of people around the country. Russell Brand was at a couple of them, and the Trump children, etc., pushing Trump for president. But to be fair to Carlson, he is now saying, hold on a minute, that wasn't meant to include a war with Iran or a war with anybody. And, well, you saw immediately what happens, no matter how much you have aided him to get into the presidency, how quickly, how immediately you are cut off by Trump. And this is what Trump had a problem with, Tucker Carlson not being in favor of the US going into yet another war.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq, and that war is the sum total, from a historical perspective, of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do. But once domestically, right, to improve the country.
Right.
And you may agree or disagree, but like in his mind, he wasn't just about the invasion of Iraq in March of 2000.
Oh, no. He was going to redo Social Security.
100%,
He had all types of. He was going to take care of the entitlements issue.
And he really thought it was going to work.
Yep.
And you could laugh at that or whatever, but the point is, the second you get enmeshed in a real war, not a fake, let's go bomb the villagers and declare success, though we don't even have a good track record, like, why are the Houthis still there?
No,
I mean, there's a whole other question,
right,
which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared. Scary unprepared. I don't think people understand that. But anyway, the only reason I'm saying any of this is because I really, really care.
Well, a few things to that. Firstly, the opening remarks about Trump being humane. I mean, please, Tucker, just look at the background to this guy. And then we had the end of the American empire he talked about if the US openly attacks Iran. Well, why is there an American empire? Why was there ever a British empire? Why does any country have empires? And then Boy George Bush had plans to improve the country. What? He was owned by Dick Cheney, his vice president, president in truth, and by Father George Bush. And Cheney and Father Bush, both owned by the cult. It's just incredible how uninformed these people that put themselves forward as MAGA influencers and in the know, how uninformed they are about what's actually going on and why. Anyway, Carlson had criticized God, and God weren't having it. No matter if Carlson played a major role in getting him elected, Trump didn't care because he was elected now. What do I care about Tucker Carlson? And we saw that with this post by Trump in response to what Carlson said. He called Carlson cookie at the bottom post here. And this was Trump's reaction when asked about Carlson's criticism.
Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky before your bylaws?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Japan?
A lot of them. Could happen.
Could happen?
Japanese, sir. Well,
Trump is a playground bully and deeply insecure, which he covers up with his bombast. And I'm reminded of Michael Wolff, Trump biographer, who's known and studied Trump for a long time, who makes the point that Trump has never really passed the age of 13. And he's like a baby in a pram. If he doesn't get everything that he wants, or anyone could criticize him, then the dollies get thrown in all directions. He's president of the United States. So then we come to Tulsi Gabbard. She's Trump's director of national intelligence. And she said only in March that during congressional hearings, that Iran, according to the American intelligence community, was not building a nuclear weapon. But all these people are Trump's props. And while they're telling him what he wants to hear, your God always helps, then it's fine. But when you say something out of line, seriously not fine. Anyway, this is Gabbard, only in March.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Fair enough, you might think. But it was the wrong message. It wasn't in line with what Trump and his masters wanted to hear. And so Trump brushes off US intel reports on Iran to align himself with Israel. As he rushed back to Washington on Tuesday morning, Donald Trump swatted aside the assessment from the official, Gabbard, that he handpicked to deliver him information from 18 US intelligence agencies. Quote, speaking of Gabbard, "I don't care what she said," said Trump. "I think they were very close to having one, i.e. Iran, and a nuclear weapon." So Trump's assessment, this story says, aligned him with Benjamin Netanyahu, you don't say. The Israeli Prime Minister, who has warned that Iran's imminent plans, tell you what it's like. You know, during COVID, you had the variant of the variant. Well, now you've got the imminent of the imminent. Oh, dear. Anyway, Benjamin Netanyahu says that Iran's imminent plans to produce nuclear weapons required a preemptive strike from Israel, and he hopes from the United States, in order to shut down the Iranian uranium enrichment program for good. And Gabbard sold her soul, to be honest, by joining this Trump mob. Gabbard sought to tamp down, never heard that before, tamp down, on a schism with Trump, telling CNN that Trump was saying the same that I said in my annual threat assessment back in March. But as the Trump administration, this is what happens when you don't tell him what he wants to hear. But as the Trump administration now appears closer than ever before to a strike on Iran, Gabbard has been left out of key decision-making discussions, and her assessments that Iran is not close to a nuclear breakout has become decidedly inconvenient for an administration now mulling over a preemptive strike. See, what these people haven't learned, the MAGA media and people in the Trump administration, is that they're only there to kiss his backside. That's their job. But as long as they do it, that's okay. And some people, like in the MAGA media, have understood this. Not least the super sycophant MAGA influencer called Benny Johnson. He knows how it's done. He knows what's necessary. So amid the bombing in Iran and Israel this week, he posted as an apparent statement about Trump's approval rating that he posted this: "Old Benny knows how it's done, and he's quite happy to do it." Benny Johnson is followed by ridiculous numbers of people to simply, daily, hourly promote this psychopath in the Oval Office. How they sleep at night, like babies probably. but I've no idea. So by great contrast, I want to give a call out to the American comedian Dave Smith. Now, he supported Trump in the election, but is now demanding that he be impeached and removed for betraying his supporters and for, well, not doing what he said he would do. Now, some of us did warn about that and got endless abuse because of it. But unlike others in the MAGA media who were trying to ignore the fact that they urged people to support Trump, Dave Smith is not trying to ignore that. He's apologized for it and spoken out from a position, therefore, of credibility, having acknowledged that he was had by the Trump illusion. This is what he said.
It was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian, the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Right. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one. Wow. And not on some not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of, corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this. Because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations, but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
Good on you, mate, for having the guts to say you were had and rolling back on it. So now we have elements of the MAGA media who said, vote for Trump, he's the savior, who are now claiming to be leading the charge against what their hero is doing. And among them is Alex Jones. Alex Jones actually said at one point that Trump is being tricked by Netanyahu. He's not being tricked. He's just owned by the same masters, mate. And so Alex Jones is pushing back on this US involvement in Iran, but he's still on board with the Trump agenda. In fact, he says it's possible to be against war and still support Trump. No, it's not, mate. Not unless you've got cognitive dissonance. Because they're not two separate things. They're the same thing. Supporting a Trump agenda that is willing to go so far off what it said it stood for. So what else is he going to do? That is nothing like what he said he would make happen, what he would stand for. The guy's lying to you. Wake the heck up. While we still can. And Alex, like I say, is still on board. And I saw this post this week where he's talking about the No Kings protests around America. Millions of people turned out. And okay, you might not agree with all of them. You might not agree with many of them. But the basis of what they're saying is we don't want a king, dictator in America, is exactly what the MAGA used to stand for and the alternative media used to stand for. For it was hijacked by these people. And this is what Alex Jones posted. Notice anything about this crowd of No Kings protesters. They are all old white boomers that think they still have power over everyone else. They are the past. We, the people, are the future. Well, actually, older people are the people. And one or two things. Trump is a baby boomer. Do you not know? The No Kings protesters were not all older people. They were the great spectrum of society, millions and millions of them. Older people have a right to an opinion. And if Trump's backside kissers are the future, then we're in real bloody trouble. But to be fair to Tucker Carlson, he is pushing back on this involvement in Iran. Good on him, I say. And he did in this debate with the senator, terrifying senator, Ted Cruz, highlight the absolute vacuous nature of the ruling classes. Cruz is all for what's happening in Iran, even though he knows nothing about the place. To think that mentality is making decisions about what happens in America, and that mentality is at large throughout the political world. Okay, now the subscribers part of the Dot Connector this week. And like I say, I'm going to talk about religion in relation to what's happening in Israel and Iran. Because the Israeli government is driven by believing the Old Testament, which I can tell you, having researched this at some length, particularly in the last few months, is a nonsense. Much of it never happened. Then you've got the Christian zealots in America pushing this war in Iran, the Christian Zionists. And then in Iran and other parts of the Muslim world, you've got them asking Allah for help and for Allah to condemn the evil Satan. And it's so hits you when you look deeply into this. the fundamental part that religion has played in the control of humanity. Not just now, but century after century, thousands of years after thousands of years. They sell you a story. They tell you it's the word of God, therefore every word of the story must be true. And then they give you consequences, blasphemer, infidel, for not believing the same stories that they do. And the stories, of course, limit your perception and limit where you will go and what you will see as a possible exploration and discovery. You won't go there if it's outside of your religious belief system. And this was brought home so blatantly in that debate between Senator Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, when Cruz said why he's supporting Israel in this and why he will always support Israel. I mean, the man is a politician representing supposedly a massive number of people, but he's not. He's representing his perceptual program, as he is freely admitting. That's extraordinary. And just look through the history of religion and the history of this global cult, because it goes back thousands of years. And look at all the wars. Look at all the suffering. All the perceptual control. Burned at the stake for not having a belief that fits with the religion. And we're still having those wars, and we're still having those divisions, and we're still having that suffering. And you can break it down to how religious belief is played off against each other. Not everybody, but enormous numbers of people. It's bloody tragic, frankly. And it's time we woke up. Now, Trump reamed out. It's another word I've not heard before. Reamed out. Had a go at, I suppose. Hegseth for flop birthday parade, says author. President Donald Trump was unhappy with his sparsely attended, it was, military parade over the weekend and blamed it on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Biographer Michael Wolff revealed. That's the Michael Wolff I mentioned earlier, who's studied and written about Trump for a long way back. Wolff told the Daily Beast podcast that Trump wanted a menacing show of force to celebrate the Army's 250th anniversary and his 79th birthday on Saturday, but got a festive parade instead. He didn't really even get that. He's pissed off at the soldiers, Wolff said. He's accusing them of hamming it up, and by that he seems to mean that they were having a good time. They were waving. They were enjoying themselves. Ooh, call the army out. Oh, sorry, they're already there. and showing a convivial face rather than a military face. He wanted them to look scary. As thousands of soldiers flanked by tanks made their way past empty bleachers along Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C., social media users pointed out that the soldiers were marching out of sync and that they weren't marching. And the muted atmosphere appeared to match the gloomy weather. That didn't escape Trump, who pointed the finger at his defense secretary, according to Wolf. See, some things happened that Trump didn't like. Someone's got to be blamed for it. Never him. Now, look here. If you look at the way the troops walked, you could even say they were making a statement about not wanting to be there and being exploited by a bloke who used his privileged status to avoid the Vietnam draft while those with no privilege were sent off to war. And that brings us to this. It's such an irony, it can't have been a mistake, surely. Was someone trolling Trump by playing Creedence Clearwater Revival's draft dodger slamming Fortunate Son at his military parade? Or is it just the further death of irony? It couldn't have been an accident, surely. The event, spearheaded by President Donald Trump, featured the repeated playing of Creedence Clearwater Revival's classic Fortunate Son, a song that virtually the entire world knows by now, was written during the Vietnam era as a slam against wealthy draft dodgers like Trump. The assumption being made by at least a few tweeters was that this had to be some kind of deliberate trolling of the president by someone on the music selection team. Who just has it in for him. Oh. You shouldn't laugh. Oh, go on then. Because if you were going to make a top 10 list of songs that Trump should not want to have played at any of his events, but most of all, not at a military-themed ceremony, Fortunate Son would certainly be number one. Now, here are the troops walking past Trump with Fortunate Son blasting in the background. Hilarious. So it didn't work out so well for Donnie, the old military parade. He wanted a scary military expression of power and might on his birthday. And he didn't get it.
In fact, U.S. intelligence has stated that they don't believe North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
우리 민방위 훈련대 칭호 정치 운동을 반군 건설에
Poor old Donny. Oh dear. Did I say that Michael Wolff, his biographer, said that he'd never passed the age of 13? I think I might have mentioned it. Anyway, at the same time all that was going on in Washington, or not much was going on, we had millions of people all over America protesting in this No Kings protest, targeted at Trump, of course. So all over America, an estimated 5 million people, some say more, turned out for the No Kings protest against Trump. This is in Los Angeles, what you're seeing here. But they were all over America. And you wonder, really, if Trump is going to make it through the next 4 years. We'll see. If he doesn't, of course, it will be J.D. Vance, which would be perfect for the Silicon Valley oligarchs. Now, there are some things that I agree with that Tommy Robinson, the British activist, says, and a heck of a lot that I don't. And on the don't, he appears to be unable to see past Israel. And this week, he's been calling for Iranians to be freed from their tyranny by Netanyahu, the architect of the Palestinian tyranny. Now, he rightly makes the point, Tommy Robinson, that the treatment of women in Iran is appalling, but says that if you support the Iranian regime, you are standing against those women. Now, this is classic black and white thinking, and black and white thinking allows divide and rule thinking. It's not about supporting a regime. You can point out the injustice of one country attacking another on the basis of no evidence, while still condemning the tyranny of the country being attacked by the tyranny of the other country. And so he says it's not about Israel, it's about freeing Iranian women, but it is about Israel. And you can condemn Israel and condemn the tyranny in Iran while still supporting the rights of women there.
Let me tell you, when I watch Iran, you see, as I've watched what's going on in Iran, I've watched for years. Do you know each time the women, they've took their headscarves off, hold them up on a stick, set fire to them, literally watch and think those women are going to be disappeared. They're not just risking their life, they're being taken and killed. And they're fighting for their rights as women, to be free, just to show their hair, okay? And each time I watch one of these uprisings, there's been a few, I think, this time, this is it. It's going to happen. This is it. They're going to topple them. They're going to topple those supremacist Islamic bastards this time. And each time they haven't. And hundreds, and if not thousands of the women have lost their lives, been imprisoned, been taken, been disappeared during each one of these. And each time I watch them, I just think, please, this time, please. I get so hopeful. And I keep it. And as I've watched, I remember last time Trump was in, I'm thinking, please, just take out these fucking bastards who have imprisoned the entire Persian population. Please. So as I've watched it, so when you're watching what's currently happening, it ain't even to do with Israel. Yeah, I know it's Israel who are launching it, but I'm just hopeful to free those people. And you know what we see? The real feminists of our generation, of our life, when you watch those women and you see them get grabbed and disappeared by full niqab wearing, burqa-clad Islamic supremacist bitches, when you watch them dragging those women into vans, I've watched it all. And each time I think, one time it's coming. And now more than ever, it's closer. So that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful for them to gain their freedom. I'm hopeful there's an uprising. So I don't give a shit what anyone says. I want to see the people of Persia free. I want to see them free from that supremacist, backward, Sharia-driven shithole ideology.
So now to something I do agree with Tommy Robinson on, and that's the grooming gangs in this country, which defy bloody belief. And this story has really blown up this week. Conspiracy of silence over grooming gangs, race-doomed thousands of girls to abuse. Sickening evidence covered up for fear of appearing racist. Damning report finds. It seems to have been a very good and honest report, actually. And, you know, you find it hard to comprehend that when these grooming gangs, rape gangs, trafficking gangs, with people of overwhelmingly Pakistani background, are abusing these kids, these white kids, in British cities. It's hard to imagine a mentality in authority that can ignore it because they don't want to appear racist. What about the kids, the girls? So this report was very hard-hitting. Public bodies covered up sickening evidence about Asian grooming gangs for fear of appearing racist, a major report found. The long-awaited review by Whitehall troubleshooter Louise Casey found that councils, police forces, and the Home Office repeatedly shied away from dealing with uncomfortable questions about the ethnicity of rapists preying on thousands of vulnerable girls. Baroness Casey last night hit out at do-gooders who tried to bury the facts of such cases, yet only ended up giving racists more ammunition. Despite years of warning, she said, the quality of data collected at a national level remained woeful and a dereliction of public duty. With ethnicity still recorded in only a third of cases, the Baroness said it was impossible to be certain about patterns of offending at national level. But her report highlighted data collected by police in Rotherham, Greater Manchester, and West Yorkshire, which allowed a, quote, disproportionate number of men from Asian ethnic backgrounds among those suspected of grooming offences. In Rotherham, an investigation into historic cases by the National Crime Agency found that 2/3 of suspects were of Pakistani heritage, despite them accounting for only 4% of the local population. The report also examined a dozen major live police investigations into grooming gangs and found a significant proportion of suspects are asylum seekers or were born abroad. In one case, in Newcastle, an asylum seeker convicted of offences spoke in a derogatory way about the lack of morals in British girls and the ease with which he was able to access sex, drugs, and alcohol. Lady Casey said it was not racist to want to examine the ethnicity of offenders, but she pointed to a culture of public bodies avoiding the issue for fear of appearing racist, raising community tensions, or causing community cohesion problems. What about the girls? Her report said that most local reviews had shown a palpable discomfort in any discussion of ethnicity, and it said flawed data was being used repeatedly to dismiss claims about Asian grooming gangs as sensational, biased, or untrue. Lady Casey said a 2020 Home Office paper, which dismissed concerns about the ethnicity of grooming gang offenders, does not seem to be evidenced in research. They bloody lied, in other words. She said, I think you've got a sort of do-gooders that don't really want this to be found because, you know, oh God, then all the racists are going to be more racist. Well, what is this except racism against the girls? Well, actually, people that are racist are going to use this anyway. All you're doing with the hate mongers and the racists is giving them more and more ammunition, Lady Casey added. Following the facts, and if anything is ever difficult, have a really good look at it. The report also accused the authorities of failing to take victims seriously, saying many girls who tried to report abuse had been ignored, treated like criminals, and often arrested themselves. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper issued a public apology on behalf of the state to the victims of the gangs. Actually, it should be on behalf of her party as well. I'll come to that. She said she offered an unequivocal apology for the unimaginable pain and suffering that you have suffered and for the failure of our country's institutions over decades to prevent that harm and keep you safe. All vacuous bullshit. Miss Cooper said she was accepting the recommendations of Lady Casey's damning report in full, including ordering a public inquiry, which the Labour government of Starmer has seriously resisted. Now faced with these facts becoming public, they can't do that anymore. And you know why they resisted it? Because the councils running these local authorities where this has been happening and is still happening are Labour-run councils overwhelmingly. My bloody hell. Gee. Illegal migrants fuel the grooming gangs, criminals exploiting small boat crises, says Tories amid calls to jail those who covered up the scandal. This was going on while the Conservative Party was in government. This guy might want to remember as well. And this is an interesting note in here. He pointed to the warning in Louise Casey's official report this week, which found a significant proportion of suspects in currently live cases are asylum seekers or foreign nationals. But this is the point. Baroness Casey said there was a culture of denial among many public bodies about the ethnicity of many defenders. And she revealed that she examined the case of one child's file and found the word Pakistani tipexed out. And here's a quote. Maggie Oliver, former detective who sounded the alarm about rape gangs in Rochdale, warned about the risk that record levels of illegal immigration could trigger a new wave of child grooming. That is not to say that all people who come across on boats are child rapists. No, of course not. But some of them are, clearly, and there's no procedure to find out who's who. all part of the dismantling of the status quo to allow the reset to happen. Police to collect ethnicity data for all cases of child sexual abuse. I've just seen a horse bolt and the stable door is swinging. Requirement made as review finds overrepresentation of Asian men among grooming gang suspects. And this is interesting in relation to the boats coming over from France. The Battle of Calais, gangs of migrants streamed past French police and threw tear gas to waiting taxi boats yelling, "England, England." It's a report on, what happens on the French side. And it says, soon large groups, including women and one man hobbling on crutches, made it to the waves on the beach for the boats. There, be it ankle deep or thigh deep, they stood with an officer of the gendarmerie in France explaining they remained under strict rules not to apprehend anyone in the sea, however shallow. The migrants then simply waited for the so-called taxi boat dinghy to ferry them across the channel, shouting, "England, England," as they approached. And interestingly, the gendarmerie noted a difference here, or highlighted a difference between when they're leaving France and when they get halfway across and get into the authority of the British authorities. The dinghy eventually approached the third group in the sea, but evidently decided 18 more, including 3 women, was too many. Only then did it slowly start to chug away from the beach. The gendarmerie speedboat still in attendance. A police officer resigned the situation. He told the Mail, the gendarmerie boat is only there in case a migrant falls in the water. Our men call out to them, do you need any help? They always say no. Until they reach British waters halfway across, that is when your men ask, do you need any help? And the migrants immediately say yes, so they can be taken safely to the shore. The officer was largely happy with his team's operation this morning, but said it was simply not possible to stop migrants getting into the boats. Well, it clearly is. You're just not trying to do it on the scale that is necessary. And, in these dock connectors over the years, I remember there was some leaked audio communications between the French Navy and the British Navy, or the border police in Britain and the border people in France, where they were clearly just handing them over to the British to bring ashore. It's systematic, and anyone who can't see that is missing the plot. Now, we're back to Trump because he dropped the trade agreement with Britain this week, and I mean, he literally dropped it. Trump leaves Starmer scrabbling on the ground as he unveils US-UK trade deal. The US president also managed to confuse the UK with the European Union. Now, I've been kind of observing and studying Trump since he came to office this time. And it ain't the Trump we saw before. Now, in the first term, okay, he still had possibly another term to win. So certain things had to be kept under wraps. Now he's in office with no other election to win, then a lot of things are happening and a lot of things are emerging in relation to him that were not seen in the same way before in his previous term. But I can't think it's just that, because when I look at his eyes, there's something different about his eyes. And there's certainly something different about the extremes of his behavior. And I just wonder if psychologically he's starting to unravel ever more quickly, actually, which is quite a statement, given that he's president of the United States, in control of the U.S. military. Anyway, Starmer was left scrabbling on the ground after Donald Trump dropped a load of papers as he unveiled the US-UK trade deal. The embarrassing incident came after the pair held talks at the G7 summit in Canada. Now, if you watch this, Starmer's face is a picture when Trump forgets to say UK and instead says European Union.
We all know the great Prime Minister of the UK, and we just signed a document. This is sorry about that. This is it. A very important document. Little windy out here. Give me that. We just signed it, and it's done. And so we have our trade agreement with the European Union, and it's a fair deal for both. Going to produce a lot of jobs, a lot of income, and we have many other ones coming.
We all make slip of the tongues, but the number of them and many other aspects to Trump's behavior, there's something going on between his ears, in my view, anyway. He also said, the UK is very well protected. You know why? Because I like them. That's their ultimate protection. Now, that could be used as a test for narcissism. Does your potential narcissist say anything even close to that? The No Kings protest was very well named. Now, the other thing about Trump is that he's making a fortune out of being president, quite blatantly. Trump launches his own mobile network with $499 gold phone. Well, I'm sure it's colored gold. It ain't actually gold. President Donald Trump and his family business are launching a new mobile phone network and a $499 gold smartphone celebrating him. Everything's celebrating him, except the military parade. The Trump organization announced the 47 plan that will cost $47.45 per month, referring to him being the US's 47th and 45th president, and a sleek gold T1 phone that will be designed and built in the United States. Actually, it won't be, certainly not at the start, as Trump's family have said in their promotion of this. Oh, at some time it could be made in America. You mean it's not being made in America now? Well, no. They are already available for pre-order, apparently. Trump Organization Vice President Donald Trump Jr. Said that the plan is for real Americans looking for true value from their mobile carriers. Already true value. So you worked out your cost from the 47 and 45 presidencies. Yeah. So that means the plan will cost $47.45, right? Yeah. Well, Verizon's Visible offers a similar package for $25 monthly, while T-Mobile offers unlimited plans for $30 monthly. Eric Trump, Trump's junior's younger brother and fellow executive vice president of the Trump organization, said the Trump mobile is going to revolutionize kind of cell phones mobile calling. No, it's not. Don't be silly. Trump has capitalized on his presidencies with a slew of his branded merchandise, including Make America Great Again hats and clothing, gold sneakers, trading cards, Bibles, which he's never read, commemorative coins, and cryptocurrency projects, to name just a few. The president made more than $10 million last year selling the merchandise, according to his financial disclosure report released by the Office of Government Ethics on Friday. The president and ethics in the same sentence must be a first. Now, there's a couple of stories here about UFOs this week. They call them something else now, UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Flying saucer UFO is caught on camera by military in newly released footage. US military personnel captured an eerie flying saucer UFO in incredible new footage, the story says, that has just been released to the public. Investigative journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp say the video was recorded by government personnel over the Afghan-Pakistan border in November 2020. It shows a massive disc weaving in and out of cloud cover. The Department of Defense labeled the disc a UAP, and it looks markedly different to other tic-tac-shaped UFOs that have been seen in recent military footage. The raw thermal imagery, along with two additional enhanced clips produced by the US government, show the unidentified craft abruptly changing direction, all without any visible means of propulsion. This is the first time in history that military filmed footage of a disc-shaped UAP designed as such by the military as being captured on camera and released to the public. Corbell said it has implications that are huge. Well, maybe. The object was spotted during a reconnaissance mission by a high-altitude Air Force platform. According to internal government slides Corbell and Knapp have seen, the UAP was described as navigating through clouds and characterized as a disc. And we'll see where that leads, if anywhere. But for whatever reason, there is more and more of this footage of unexplained flying objects being released by the military in the United States. And here's another one. I mentioned this in a Dot Connector recently when there was the first one was seen. UFO invasion in Colombia. Well, it's not. Not as I speak, it's not. UFO invasion in Colombia as second, well, it's not an invasion then, is it? Second mysterious sphere appears in the sky. A mysterious metallic sphere was captured soaring above a field in Colombia just 2 months after locals recovered a similar object that many are calling a UFO. The footage, filmed on June the 7th over a sugarcane field in Yumbo, shows the sphere darting in a zigzag pattern and maneuvering in ways that appear to defy conventional aircraft. Witnesses describe the object as moving at great speed and freedom as it hovered above the ground. So, however, many people said the object is either a balloon or the video was created using AI. Always a possibility these days, which has to be taken into account. UFO researcher Jamie Mawson, whose research has stirred controversy for nearly a decade, released the video on his show, Mawson Television. He described the sphere as likely not from here and suggested it may be a technology humans do not yet possess. When the workers were investigating the crops, the sphere appeared and they were able to capture it with a state-of-the-art set of equipment. The images are truly extraordinary, Mawson said. He added that the latest sphere appeared nearly identical to the first, recovered in Buga. Was it a silly Buga? About 43 miles from Yumbo. So that caught me as funny. It probably didn't catch you, but there you go. Scientists who analyzed the latest video said the object emits an electromagnetic field, generates strong heat, and may possess anti-gravity capabilities. So anyway, just for your interest, that's the latest on what's been appearing in Colombia. Now, people will, in Britain, will be well aware of the chain called Poundland, which started out where everything could be bought for £1 or less. Poundland reveals 68 UK stores and 2 warehouses could shut, with 1,300 jobs now at risk after discount retailer was sold for £1, appropriately, to investment firm Gordon Brothers. And, you know, shops like this, that they're really big-time discount shops, you'd think they'd be doing well in, you know, current times with inflation and the unbelievable price rises that we're seeing. But it's obviously in a bit of trouble. And that's the closure of 68 stores. And it's a strange one, why a discount store of all things would be going at a time when it's just what people need. Also, this one, checkmate, Tesla Cybercab, Uber to trial driverless taxis in London. Now, I've known for quite a long time, having heard it from someone who operates in these areas of business, that Uber's business plan from the start was for driverless taxis. Everything else on the road to that was on the road to that, because this is where they want to go and were always planning to go. So all these taxi drivers that complain that Uber pays them so little, well, your plan not to be necessary at all, and have always been planned to be so. And the other question, why do we need driverless taxis? Why do we need driverless cars? Who decided that? Did the public get asked about it? Of course not, because it's part of the Great Reset plan of control by artificial intelligence. And therefore, it's happening all over major countries. The Uber trials begin of driverless taxis in London next year ahead of the Tesla Cybercab, which is touted to make its debut in the US before 2027. The ride-hailing platform has already been working with UK artificial intelligence firm Wave to perfect its level 4 autonomous driving technology in what Uber has described as complex driving environments. Yeah, environments where you need a bloody driver, like human. The announcement came shortly after the government said it would begin implementing a fast-tracking framework to introduce autonomous taxi and bus-like pilot services to UK roads. Why? For whose benefit? This is, people that say, oh no, there's no coordinating force between all these countries. No, well, of course there is. This is how this works. In a statement, Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander said the UK's commitment to autonomous vehicles will drive growth, create 38,000 jobs. Oh yeah, what, among taxi drivers, like? And add 42 billion to our economy. Oh, just go away. You're polluting the space. Now, I just want to finish on this. I mentioned on this at the start of the subscribers dot connector about the impact of religion on human perception. Well, I got a couple of stunningly extreme examples for you. This is the first. It's a Jewish man who's urging fellow Jews to wear their tefillin, in which the black cube, that's what it is a symbol of, the black cube of Saturn, and it looks like a little chimney on your head when you put it on. And according to this bloke, it will make the nations of the world fear Israel. I guess that would be after they stop laughing, would it? I mean, if you'll believe this, all bets are off. You'll believe anything.
Jewish people, the land of Israel needs you right now, and that means that we need you to put on tefillin. It says that when you put on tefillin, the nations of the world will fear us. And we need every single prayer that we could get. So go find your tefillin and come do it with me. I'm going to show you how to do it if you haven't done it in a while. First, you start with the arm and you repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitot v'tivanu lahaniach tefillin. This is the true power of the Jewish people. This is the true strength of the Jewish people. You want to help the land of Israel? Go find your tefillin, go dust them off, and go put them on, and send your prayers over to the Holy Land.
I mean, it's a head shaker, isn't it? And all these different religions will have all these different rituals. Why are you doing that? Because it says so in the Bible, or it says so in the Jewish must-dos. They've been doing it for thousands of years. And that means you've got to do it now, right? In 2025? Oh, yeah. And this is MAGA pastor, a guy called Shane Vaughan. Now, this is his reaction to the bombing of Iran and the retaliation from Iran, because he thinks that this means the end times when the Messiah will return are here. The bloke is a complete lunatic. Cue video, if you must.
What wonderful days these days are before the coming of the Lord. What wonderful days these days are before the coming of the Lord. What wonderful days these days are before the coming of the Lord. Oh, the glory, oh, the glory before the coming of the Lord. Hallelujah.
I kind of watched that and wonder if I've entered some other dimension of reality. But then I remember that mentality like that has been with us all the way through the history of religion. Like I say, it's not everybody, but when you see the scale of religious programming, where the religion overrides basic decency, humanity, and compassion, the impact of religion on human control, it's impossible to overstate it. Anyway, that's the Dot Connector for this week. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.